Hey, everybody. I'm here with Steph Zamorano and Ron Placone. How are you?
Hello.
Howdy, howdy.
So I like Dylan Ratigan. If you know who Dylan Ratigan is, this guy. He used to have his own show on MSNBC, and he went on a rant that explained how the banks are running our world, our country, have corrupted our entire culture, and are extracting wealth and screwing over the people. So he went on a long rant. It was at the top of his lungs. He told you that the bankers were extracting wealth from our country. They're not investing. They're not doing what bankers are supposed to do. And he gave a recipe for setting up national banks. Yeah. So he had a real way to fix this problem with the banks. The government sets up banks and capitalize them 10-1. That was his solution. I don't know if you know, he was gone after he did that.
Yes.
That was that. That was just like Phil Donahue saying the Iraq War was bullshit, then he had to go. It's like to Ed Schultz saying the TPP was bullshit, he had to go. Dylan Ratigan said the banks are extracting wealth, they're not helping, they're the parasites, they're the problem. He got out of there like that. And you notice he's been nowhere since. Same thing with Phil Donahue. It's like when MSNBC fires you, they just don't fire you. They make sure you stay underground. It's like you are banished, right? Ashley Bamfield, where is she? She was also pushy backy, telling the truth about the war. So he's going to weigh in on Trump and a few other things, and I thought it was worth listening to. So let's listen to Dylan Ratigan. By the way, Dylan Ratigan, 24 years old. He looks a lot older than he is. He's 20. A lot of people don't know that. 24.
The most obvious reason that Donald Trump fired the FBI director is because he was afraid that the FBI director is investigating something about him that he didn't want him to find out. There's a basic principle of life, and it certainly applies to politicians and politics, and not just Donald Trump. That is that the most obvious explanation, more often than not, is the explanation. I think they call it Occam's Razor. So if you're wondering why, I'm sure you're not actually wondering, but if you happen to be wondering why Donald Trump would fire the FBI director, the obvious reason is the FBI director is investigating him for something that he doesn't want him to find out about. Donald Trump and his administration are guilty of a variety of things, and firing the FBI director at least postpones that guilt coming out.
I think, by the way, just let me comment on this when you guys can weigh in. I think what they're going to find out about Trump is that he was laundering money for Russian mobsters. That's what I think they're going to find out. If they find out if they find out anything. Some people, this whole thing that somehow he colluded with Russia to hack the election. No one's ever told me how he did that. We're still waiting for that. But I think the thing he did illegal was launder money for. That's my. I guess this is just 100% speculation, like everybody else. By the way, okay, here we go. He's got more to say. You guys have any? What do you guys think it's going to be to end up being?
Oh man,
you don't know.
I wish I had a good
I know, me
prediction, but
neither.
I don't think anyone really does. I think that guess is as good as any of them.
Okay, so here he goes on.
But this principle applies more broadly as well, and not just to Trump and the Trump administration. Why would Hillary Clinton keep a private server and have a foundation that makes all this money and then not want to disclose it?
So what he's touching on here is what I've said before and what other people have pointed out, is that the Trump presidency, as flawed as it is and as ugly as it is, it exposes hypocrisy inside this establishment. So what he just did was like, yeah, Trump is probably doing some shady deals. Why do you fucking think Hillary Clinton did shady deals? She was a Mr. Shady Deal. That's what he's pointing out right now. So that's the thing I'm getting kind of crazy about, is that people are you can't have a higher standard for Trump. You know what I mean? I'm not saying treat him or give him a pass at all. But he's pointing out like, it sounds like he's like all the other politicians. What do you think he's just said there?
Pretty much. I was having a conversation with a friend of mine that I have a lot of respect for, that we just we see things a little differently at the moment. And he was talking about the Russia thing, and I was like, so what exactly do you want them to find? Like, what do you expect to happen? What do you think's going to happen? And he goes, this is literally what he said. He goes, collusion, man. And I was like, okay. And I'm thinking back to some of our videos, and I was like, could you expand, please? And he's like, well, I think that they did something. Like, he basically said, Trump collusion with Russia to hijack the election, which is treason. And I was like, okay, so you're hoping, that's an impeachable offense. And he said, well, forget impeachment.
So he still hasn't said anything, Ron. I don't know if you noticed. He just said collusion.
Right.
He still didn't say what they did.
I know. And I'm like, well, so you think that's something? He's like, well, we don't know what. But I think there's something, and Trump's going to go out in handcuffs. And I was like, you really think that that's a possibility? He said, yeah. And I was like,
we didn't impeach
George. That's a lot of optimism.
We didn't impeach Dick Cheney and George Bush.
Right.
For starting an illegal war, lying our country into it, then ordering torture to cover up. And by the way, Dick Cheney got fucking $30 million from Halliburton as a down payment for that fucking war.
Yeah, and
you want to talk about a quid pro quo? There you go. Go ahead, Ron.
Well, I was going to say, and the only thing that really came from that at the time was Dennis Kucinich gave an amazing speech on all the reasons for impeachment that me and 9 other people watched on C-SPAN. And that's a shame, but that's all that happened there. So, I mean, I just looked at him and I was like, and this guy's a good bit older than me. So I was like, I don't know how you have that kind of naivety, but I think there's no way that could ever happen.
There's no way that he's going to be let out.
That Trump's going to go out in handcuffs? I don't think so.
It seems like the establishment wants to impeach him on both sides of the aisle, Ron.
I know
think
that.
They might illegitimately prosecute him. They could do whatever they want. They wouldn't fucking prosecute Bush and Cheney for F's sake, for ordering. They wouldn't prosecute bankers. They won't even prosecute bankers for laundering drug money that they admit. So they're going to go after Trump, because both sides of the aisle wants to go after him. That's why. Right now, you got people like McCain, and Lindsey Graham. I mean, they want to impeach him.
Well, the Republicans know that he's setting them up for a bloodbath in 2018.
He is.
But if they can get rid of him, distance themselves, and have Pence in, that's going to be better for them.
And that is a mistake that the Democrats are going to make sure happen. It's a big mistake for the Democrats to want to get rid of Donald Trump. It's a big mistake politically. The guy's he can't even repeal their tax pro. He can't repeal. It's just unbelievable. He's not even been able to. There's no wall. They're not going to get a tax deal done this year. They can't repeal Obamacare. So he's an incompetent. And it's easy to run against and easy to fundraise against. I think the Democrats are making a tactical mistake.
Well, I think so. I mean, someone said this to me. Someone said, you know what, the thing is that Trump's a total rogue and he reports to nobody. And I was like, yeah, that's a problem. But you know what? Nobody also includes Republicans and the fringe religious right. He doesn't report to those people either. And I'd rather have that than a Mike Pence.
I think if the Democrats take over Congress, which is very possible, that Trump just might go along with some of their stuff. Like everybody on the right has been saying, single payer is inevitable. Charles Krauthammer, David Frum, people saying it, and they even intimate that Trump might be the guy to pass it. I think if the Democrats take over, you never know what Trump. He's not an ideologue, is what a lot of people have said. He's not. So here, back to him. So Dylan Ratigan, this is great stuff. Good fodder for conversation.
Well, maybe it's because she was taking money through the foundation in exchange for creating political benefits to those who gave that money in foreign countries. Weapons deals in the leg. Again, Occams Razor. Why would Barack Obama choose to ignore the financial crisis completely and instead try to do a healthcare reform that, instead of actually solving the problem, instead creates a mandate to force everybody to purchase health insurance through a unreformed private health insurance monopoly? Well, that might be because Barack Obama is financed by the banks and the private health insurance companies. So why would he not continue to try to fund them to their greatest extent possible?
Why was I let go from MSNBC? Maybe because they were funded by bomb makers and now Comcast. And then he drops the mic and flips away.
So I love this guy. So what he's doing is like what we've been doing, is pointing out everybody getting upset about Trump's corruption or whatever Trump does. And it's like, oh, turns out the Democrats have been doing it all along and everybody's been quiet. And that's what he's pointing out right now. It's like, is Trump doing a shady deal with these there's probably something up. It's the easiest explanation is they were investigating. They were close to catching him on something, so he fired him. But why do you think Hillary Clinton did that stuff? Why do you think she took all that money from all those people and sold arms deals for why do you think that? Why do you think Barack Obama didn't fix the healthcare problem? Why do you think he just gave a corporate giveaway? Why did he force Americans to buy a private-owned company's product? because he's bought off too. So what Dylan Ratigan is doing, God fucking bless this guy, is he's very easily and unemotionally, opposite of me, because he got fired for being emotional. Now he's Mr. Commie-Com. What he's saying is, if you think Trump is the only one who's corrupt, grow up. Grow up. Hillary Clinton, corrupt to the hilt. Barack Obama, corrupt to the hilt. That's why you guys have shitty health care. Because Barack Obama is bought. That's what he's saying. He's like, and this isn't, and he's also making the point, it doesn't take a Columbo, which is an old-timey word for an investigator. It doesn't take a genius investigator to figure it out.
And when you
don't have to be Mannix like him.
Yeah, when you have a really corrupt system, eventually you're going to get the figurehead that's an epitome of that.
Yes.
Like that's eventually what you're going to get.
Yeah, our whole goddamn system's corrupt and everybody knows it. Nobody goes to jail for war crimes. The bankers don't go to jail for kicking old ladies out of their houses and veterans out of their houses for a nickel. No one goes to jail. They repeal the black. They do exactly. Nobody goes to jail. Nobody goes to jail for war crimes. We still have a torture facility in fucking Cuba. Nobody goes to jail. All the shit that Bradley Manning revealed. You know who we prosecute in America? We prosecute journalists who expose war crimes inside of our government. That's who we prosecute.
Chelsea Manning,
yeah.
Chelsea Manning.
Chelsea Manning. What did I say?
You did say Bradley, but
I said Bradley. I'm sorry. Chelsea Manning. I'm sorry. I'm not. I don't. That's not intentional. So let's see if there's anything else he has to say. I don't think so.
So, again, while the FBI director example gives those with a partisan view against Donald Trump, and it's easy to be against Donald Trump, the obvious fuel to suggest that he's a criminal who's a terrible guy, blah, 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 under investigation, probably true. But if you believe that, then you probably also need to consider that Hillary Clinton was taking money through her foundation to do weapons deals overseas while personally enriching herself, and that Barack Obama is paid off by the private health insurance companies and the banks to make sure that we don't actually have proper health care or a functioning financial system. It's hard to believe one and not accept the other two.
Mic drop.
Bam! That's pretty... God damn that Dylan Ratigan, bringing it home hard.
He tied it up pretty nice.
Tied it up.
Yeah. That was short, sweet, and just boom.
I love that guy. I've always liked Dylan Ratigan. Always. Even when I disagree with him on Twitter, still like that guy.
He used to have a lot of comics on his show and stuff too, I think.
Yeah, that's why I saw Lee Camp. I saw Lee Camp.
Yeah, Lee was on it.
That's where I first found out about Lee Camp, and then we had him on our show. So, yeah, I don't think I've ever met Dylan Ratigan yet, though. I don't think I've met him. Anyway, there you go. God bless you, Dylan Ratigan. And so that's the thing you have to remember. So Trump, right now, people are saying that, even Bernie Sanders is tweeting out that, I can't believe Trump is showing his affection for a dictator. That's all we do in America. Are you out of your frickin' mind? All right, that's another video. But that's what I love. That here it is, Dylan Ratigan bringing the truth. It's like, hey, if you guys are going to be upset about Trump's corruption, you're overlooking the real fucking corruption. The corruption that actually had a direct effect on our goddamn lives right now. You know why you have a shitty healthcare system? Because Barack Obama's bought off. That's who we should be investigating. Let's investigate those motherfuckers. Anyway, but because they do it right out in the open. That's why you don't get prosecuted if you do it out in the open, like the Iraq War. It was right out in the open. Torture, it was right out in the open. Everybody knows about it. Torture, literally ordering torture. Literally invading countries illegally against the UN. Literally taking millions of dollars from Russia to sign off on a plutonium deal. Literally enriching themselves. Anyway, thank you, Dylan Ratigan. Now you know that's why he doesn't work at MSNBC, right? You know that because you can't say that shit at MSNBC. Rachel Maddow, Chris Hayes, they cannot say that. Lawrence O'Donnell might say it, which is why he might not get his contract renewed. Whew, and you wonder why people get their news from YouTube. That's a guy giving you the news on YouTube. TYT Politics, that's Dylan Radigan. The next live Jimmy Dore show in Burbank, California is May 22nd. May 22nd, that's a Monday night, live in Burbank, California. Special guests, a great time. Get your tickets right there.